Well, thank you, Karen, very much, and we're really excited to be here with you today. And we actually have a participant in our Leadership Academy right here in the group. So if there's anything that doesn't ring true, he'll keep us in check here today.
That's right.
So as Karen mentioned, my name's Carolyn Matisky. I work for the SUNY System Administration. My office is in Albany, and I've been with the Institute for just over a year now. Previous to that, I came from the Research Foundation for SUNY, so I'm very familiar with the SUNY setup, and obviously I love SUNY because I've got both of my degrees from SUNY, so every day I'm proud to be able to give back and support this community I love. And I will let Christy introduce herself.
I'm Christy Romer. I actually work for NYSERNet, the New York State Education and Research Network. Our mission is to advance the network for researchers and education across New York State. So most all of you are our members. Our demographic within your institutions are your CIO office. So our board of directors are CIOs from across the state that kind of direct and tell us what exactly we need to do to further research and education. My role is Education Services Manager. I was brought on 4 years ago to coordinate our conferences as well as educational events. So I teamed up with SUNY Sal, and we've been sailing since.
Thanks, Christy. Yeah. So we want to warm you all up, and we'll try our best with the cold temperatures here, but we do have an icebreaker planned. So we're going to force you all to meet one another, and we've got even number here. So Karen, if you don't mind participating, so we can do this icebreaker. You each have an index card at your place, and just find a partner that you can pair up with, and we're going to ask you, whoever's name is closest to the beginning of the alphabet, you are going to go first. And what you're going to do is either with a pen draw out on your card, or just feel free to act, but you cannot use any words, your favorite hobby. Okay, so what you love to do, we want you to act that out, and then once you guess, your partner guesses it, you'll switch roles. And when both of you get it, when both of you uncover the favorite hobby, then we want to hear you cheering. Okay?
You can act it out or you can draw it out, whichever you feel is your wheelhouse. Right.
What are sports, physical activities? Softball. Yay!
Keep going. Cheer.
Yay!
Both of you got it? Okay.
So, where do you play?
We failed. We haven't both done it.
That's okay. Oh, I played that for
Hockey. Yay.
Yay. So yay. 3 yays. Awesome. All right. You're a little bit warmer, I hope. So I want to start with why, because I've been listening to a phenomenal Audible book that is an actual book in print called Start With Why. And we basically, one of my roles is to coordinate our annual New York State CIO conference. And at that conference in 2016, it was a definite, everybody agreed that there was no pipeline to fill in the CIO role. None. So SUNY is having issues with that. Our private institutions are having issues with that. So as I'm hearing this rumbling, I'm saying, okay, we need to do something. NYSERNet needs to do something as a collaborative effort to try to help fill or create a pipeline for this role. So in 2017, the #1 campus IT priority was to hire, retain qualified IT staff and leaders. So as you can imagine, this is from EDUCAUSE, which is global. So it is not just a New York State issue. We started our practice because there was very few opportunities for staff to work with mentors. One of the key components of our program is our mentors, which Carolyn will talk more about. There's gaps in the current technology leadership pipeline, so not having enough skilled people coming up through that can fit that leadership role. There's no succession planning. It's all of a sudden, boom, somebody's out, and who are we going to fill that with? And again, it's not just throughout SUNY in New York State, it's with the private institutions too. And there's no leadership training available for the unique challenges of higher education. So in 2016, I reached out to Jason, who's with SUNY SAL, and got the conversation going. And in January, he called me and he said, January of 2017, he called me and he said, Christy, we have legs. The CIOs want this. The current CIOs want this. So he had then shortly brought on Carolyn, and then she and I have worked together to put together this program that we're really, really proud to present to you. In 2017, we were so excited as the registrations came in. There's another one, there's another one. And we had 20 professionals that participated and completed the program. And then this past year, we just finished on Tuesday our capstone, where we had 18 professionals participate again and graduate. So we're really excited. We've deemed this to be an annual event. So we'll be starting up again next in 2019, and we'll be promoting probably early or at the end of this year. We wanted to make sure that the participants had a cohort of folks that they could go to ask questions and help guide them and lead them through. So we reached out to CIOs from the private institutions as well as throughout SUNY to be our mentors. And we have 6 CIOs who mentored the first group and another 6, and a few came back for the second group. And that really is the bread and butter of our program. It really has made the difference. We had a mid-semester gathering with our group from last year where we brought the alumni from the 2017 to meet with the 2018. And we were amazed to hear how many were still in contact with their mentors from the program. And I'm not just saying like here and there, like going to lunches and having breakfast and meeting up with them and discussing their growth and problems and things they can do to become better leaders. The other thing that the CIOs bring to the table is that knowledge gap of higher ed and technology. So being able to bridge those two for somebody coming up into a leadership role really, I think, is a key component that's made it successful. We had 5 opportunities for the 2017 group to meet. We did an opening retreat, which was face-to-face. We did 3 growth sessions, which were online, and then we did an ending capstone, which was face-to-face. Our feedback from that group was that there should be more face-to-face time, which we were floored at because you're talking about institutions from Buffalo to New York City to Binghamton up to the St. Lawrence. So the fact that they wanted to get together and make that drive really resonated with us. So in 2018, we included a mid-semester retreat where they could get together, and that's where we invited the alumni from last year, and we're really excited about the connections that were made at that retreat. And I'll let Carolyn talk about the blended learning piece of all of this.
Sure. Thanks, Christy. So we would love to be able to get together with people all day in the classroom. I mean, that's, a fantastic way to teach. But people are busy and they have their day-to-day operations that they need to keep continuing on their campus. So we were really, we had to have some sort of blended learning model. And we went with a 3-hour virtual growth session. We didn't call them webinars. They were online, synchronous. And we really filled the agenda with those 3 hours. And in the first class, the feedback was clear. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect going into this. And looking at the first set of evaluations, I was sort of like, my fingers were crossed, and I didn't know what people were going to think. I'm from an environment where I would do very short segments of live synchronous training. And even to keep people engaged for an hour or 90 minutes online is difficult. So 3 hours, I'm like, oh my goodness, what are they going to think? And the feedback was really clear. And it was clear we've done 9 of these now, or 6 of these, and it's every time people, at least 75% of the people, their response is that the timing of it, the 3-hour length, is right on. And some, no one says they're too long. 25% sometimes say that they should be longer. So we're doing something right in the way we're stacking the agenda and planning things, because people are really staying engaged throughout that full 3 hours. And I'm looking at Romine and remembering seeing his little picture on our video grid, because we use Blue Jeans technology to do those. And people can see each other. You can turn off your camera, obviously, but a lot of people will leave them on, and we can see each other, and they know each other because they've spent 2 days intimately at that kickoff. So to see one another learning and nodding and, you know, holding up signs sometimes was really fun. So we've put together a series of slides on why we think this blended learning model worked for us. We would love to be able to study this a little bit more in depth and, you know, be scientific about it and academic, but we're going with our gut instinct and our experience in learning and development. And now 2 classes have gone through this, so we've really, you know, feel like we understand some of the reasons why it's been successful. So one of the things is that this audience, so we're reaching out to IT professionals, and they're very comfortable in an online environment. So when you give them technology, there's not a lot of explaining you have to do with, you know, here's the link to log in or to download it onto your computer. They're very comfortable. They do this for people for a living. So, you know, we've got that on our side, that the audience is comfortable in this setting. We also talked about that kickoff, and we have that as our longest in-person session. So we really want people to get comfortable with one another. We want to give them an opportunity to meet their mentor, to form those real human connections. And I've included a picture up here of one of the activities that we do in person at our kickoff. People love this, and IT people especially, they call us and they want it delivered on their campus because they love this particular activity. It's called Bafa Bafa. And it's really getting people comfortable with understanding that your culture at your campus is something that you need to be aware of. And then when your culture interacts with another culture, there are just some things to be aware of in your own leadership and self-awareness and how to approach the culture piece of things. Because as one of our mentors said throughout the program, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Yes. So we talked about that agenda that we planned for the 3-hour virtual growth session, not webinar. And we will plan for 2 or 3 speakers throughout the 3 hours. And they're very short lectures. So, you know, people really want to dig into their content and throw the kitchen sink at people, but we don't let them do that. And we really keep it to, I think the longest we've had someone speak on a topic is 25 minutes. So it's short, and then we open it up for dialogue. And we let the audience interact either in the chat forum or they can turn their microphone on and ask a question live. The other thing that we do in every growth session is that we structure breakouts. So we use Blue Jeans technology, but we set it up so that they can open up a separate meeting room with their mentor. They go in and the mentor leads the discussion. So they're talking about content they just heard lectured on, and the CIO, the senior mentor there, can share their insights into how they've seen these principles play out in life, in their career. So they can really take the content and the perspective of a senior on this topic and then ask their questions in a really safe environment. We talked about these mentoring circles, and we have probably 3 to 4 max people matched up with one mentor. So they start to, over the course of the semester, really form some relationships with the mentor and have a safe space to talk. We have 2 moderators in our sessions. So it really helps us because Christy is, you know, much more technical than I am, and she is intimate with this Blue Jeans technology. That her NiserNet group has the licenses, and so she's familiar with any issues that might come up and things that we need to work through on that front. And then that allows me to focus on the audience and to be able to introduce our speakers. And if there's a question in the chat, you know, one of us is definitely going to catch it. And if there's a mentor that's, you know, they're very busy. So one may have to slip out for a meeting or they're coming in late. And to be able to coordinate all of that happening live, it really did require 2 of us. So we scaffolded the learning. I know you all love those terms, right? In curriculum development, we scaffolded it. So we really thought about what they needed to learn and when they needed to learn it. We did extensive surveys after the first cohort to really get a better insight into how we scaffolded and what we thought was missing to really add that in. We had a lot of dialogue with the mentors as well. So we asked them probably 3 or 4 times in the off season about this to really get their insights and help them drive it. We didn't want to be the L&D people without the subject matter expertise and drive something that we don't really know the road here. So we really let the mentors help us in selecting the topics. And one thing that we did learn coming out of 2017 into the new year was that they didn't want the technology specifics. They didn't want to know about, database administration or anything very technical. They were getting that kind of information somewhere else. So we had a few topics that we thought were really, rising to the top and needed to be discussed. But for the next class, we totally focused on leadership development. So we learned. Oh, I skipped over the applied learning project. So the whole program has an applied learning project element to it. So this was a big to-do for our participants, and we really tried to introduce it early and give them support. So we had a rubric. We had an outline for when they give their presentation at the capstone event, some pointers on what are some highlights that you'll want to cover, and we had them deliver it as if they were preparing a presentation for their senior executives at their campus. So they're in this, program, and they have something tangible that they need to do that's actually going to advance the business on their campus. And that, I think, gave us a lot of leverage with the campuses to be able to sign off on this, because it's not a free program. So they have to see the business value in it too. So they have multiple opportunities to connect with one another, and these are just a few of our mentors. One that's not pictured here is Amy Berg. She's been a fabulous mentor for our group, and I know she's got a large role in the CIT conference, so that's why she's not here, because this was taken on Tuesday, and she was preparing to have all of you here at her campus. But we love our mentors. We've got some really great folks who've been involved in this, and I think they love it more than the participants. So, I think it just goes back to when you give, you receive more. I think that just the simple way we titled these online sessions made a difference. We didn't call them 3-hour webinars. I mean, who wants to go to a 3-hour webinar? Not me. But a virtual growth session. And what really cemented it for me that this made a difference was in our lightning round at the end of our graduation on Tuesday. One person said that, in other programs, you get jazzed up for a day or two, and you think you can conquer the world, and then you go back to your campus, and those good feelings, they just start to slowly slip away or fade away. But then, with this program, the growth session kicked in, and it was 3 hours and reminder of what they're there for, and it kept them focused on, their overall mission. So I think that just the way we have this structured over a semester, and we're very aware of what's going on the campus, so we time it to try to be, aware of what other business they'll be tending to, so they can really focus on the academy. So Karen, how much time do we have left?
You have 8 minutes.
Okay, I think we can do this. So we are going to quickly do an activity with those index cards again. And we want to know what leadership challenges you're facing in the next 1 to 3 years. So I'm going to pass this over to Christy to lead.
Yeah, so what leadership challenges do you foresee within your group or within yourself, who might want to grow into a leadership position, or overall in your campus? What are the challenges that are taking place? So if you can write one of them down onto your card. Just a couple more seconds. Okay. Are we done? All right. What I want you to do is, if we can come together as a group up front here, please. Give you a chance to stretch. Yep, exactly. Exactly. This is your kind of temperature. All right, now what I'm going to give you guys is 30 seconds to pass these cards amongst yourself quickly. So you're just going to shuffle along, shuffle them along. Go ahead, come together, shuffle your cards. Oh,
I wrote it on my iPad.
oh, that's
I don't
okay.
bring a pen.
You don't have a pen? That's all right. We could do it real quick. Keep passing. Just pass them to each other. Nope, pass them around to each other. Oh, I meant shuffle around the room with each other. Keep going, keep passing, keep passing. Yep, just keep passing. Yep. We're gonna get another one in the group here. So keep passing. There we go. All right, get that one in. Keep passing. All right, everybody needs a card. There we go. Okay, now what I want you to do is get with the person closest to you. You need to rate the problem on the card between 0 and 7. Here's the key. Your cards can't add up to be more than 7. So if you say this problem on this card is about a 4, 7 being the highest, then that means you only have room for it to be a 3 on that card.
Oh, I see. Convince each other.
So, yeah, so look at the problem and rate it based on how you feel.
There's 4 things. That's the first one. Okay. But well, maybe IT practice. Administration doesn't know what IT needs to do.
Okay, a couple more seconds.
Okay, so what you say is more important.
So make sure they don't add up together to be more than 7.
So, yeah. Okay. So, all right. I think both are close.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
close.
a big one. That's a big one.
4 is 3. 4 is 3.
Okay? All right, we're going to go. Did you write it on your card what number you gave it? So write on your card the number you gave it.
So each card should have a number.
Yep, each card should have a number, and now we're going to pass them again. Yep, keep passing around. Okay. Okay, stop where you are. I want you to get with a different partner. And you're going to do the same thing. Can't be more than 7. Rate the problem.
Oh, okay.
No, that's okay, but, well, they listed 4 different
So
things.
rely on some.
Pick one, pick only one.
So let's just say you person.
So relative to the demonstration of understanding,
Okay. Quickly.
So and you're,
I thought they
so
were
then,
pretty close.
All right, 30 more seconds.
30 more seconds.
Okay.
Write that number down if you've got it, and then you can go ahead, take the card with you and sit down. And what I want you to do is add the two numbers together. So we're going to add the two numbers together. Does anybody have a problem that it rated at 14? So that means it had 2 7s. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 10, 9. 9? What's the problem?
President is retiring, so that's the challenge.
That's the challenge. The president is retiring. And that's something that we do discuss in the Leadership Academy. We have an entire session on change management that is very, very helpful and gets you a lot of resources of how to handle that for yourself as well as with your team. Do we have any 8s? Yes.
The administration has a lack of knowledge of standard IT practices.
Standard IT practices. So
We do have a lot on communications. I think you can attest to this.
Yep.
And a whole growth session devoted to communicating as a CIO. So we recognize that communication is a really important piece of that.
And that's one of the main outcomes that pretty much all the participants say they got out of the academy is better communication skills. Do we have a 7? Yeah.
I actually had a 9.
9? Oh. Adequate staffing. Adequate staffing. That's trouble across the board with everybody.
Welcome to SUNY.
Even the privates have the same exact issue, and it's coming from down below, right? So it's starting even down in elementary school. So I think it's a matter of getting students into that IT career and sticking with it all the way through.
It's a combination of lack of trained people, but also a lack of dollars to hire
Yes,
them with.
yes,
It's a
exactly.
double-edged sword there.
Exactly. So we heard 3 problems. I know there were more issues, but please know that throughout the academy, these are things that we're trying to address, and we're changing it each year to go with the problems and issues that the IT offices and CIOs will be facing.
Good. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got some cards here, so please follow us on Twitter. We're both on Twitter. We're partners here in this, and so we've provided both of our websites as well. If there's anything that we can share as part of our curriculum with you, we're happy to do that.